And it's one of Zeus's most iconic. It's a champion that he played so much and that he really started to make a name for himself during his debut. But it's also
Damn, 3-0 niya na. Para secured ng SMI slot.
That wasn't enough. Genji played around that Narbar expertly. He was never really able to generate the leads that he needed to. And the champion has fallen out of favor.
Si Utom pala to eh.
The Peanut Nidalee though.
Si Utom.
I do think Peanut from game 1 to game 2 had a giant
Si Mowgli pala ano nila? Okay. Old school player na Mowgli. Draft pick coach pala nila si Mowgli.
His most iconic champion, this guy's got a skin.
Yes sir, Owner Lee Sin. May T1 Lee Sin na skin.
Have made themselves a pretty cohesive draft.
Skip
off
that.
The back of it. But is it going to be enough to keep their hopes alive, to keep them in with a chance of getting this ticket to Vancouver, to MSI? I don't know whether it's going to be enough because that it represented the finish line for Genji and may represent the finish line for T1 as well as we jump onto the Rift here for game number 3.
Okay, let's go.
Hanwha fans trying to be as loud as possible, but the T1 fans obviously drowning them out still here at the Sajik Indoor Gymnasium.
And what we thought could have been a new era of a new dominant LCK team in Hanwha. You know, sure, they didn't win the World Championship, but won their last domestic title, won LCK Cup, won first stand. Might be cut short right here. After being one game away from going to MSI, Hanwha Life Esports may just simply not go there. And no
please win.
It'll just be Genji T1 again.
Oh yeah.
Until spellbook ni Rakan. Okay.
I think that BLG's regular season not that great.
Conqueror Saya.
Not that great.
Survivability.
They're already locked in for MSI, guys. I just want to put it out there. I know it's something that we often talk about, and it's just the glow up. This T1 is just not the same one we saw in the regular season.
Nice
in
touch.
hindsight, it kind of feels obvious. We always put up the possibility, but the fact that it actually happens and through the back of Doran is not something I necessarily expect.
I mean, I'm very personally, you know, close to thinking T1 might have been able to do it. Remember, I predicted them in regular season at the end.
Okay, masakit ang Lucian early.
They did not beat
Lucian Brom.
in that final match. I thought maybe T1 had passed them. Perhaps they needed BO5 domestic.
Kaya careful maglaro si Guma at Keria dito.
To get it done. But T1 are just looking super clean. They have such a good read on the meta right now. And it's great to see, you know, more depth here in our LCK. But if you're a Hanwha fan, you're hoping you can stop that momentum.
And it goes both ways, because as much as T1 have leveled up, I'm also not used to seeing Hanwha just straight up miss skills.
Tinaman siya ng Q. Okay, wala nang heal.
Yeah, heals going to be thrown out here on both sides. Both of these AD carries taking the brunt of the damage here. Zeka and Faker fighting it out here in the mid lane. The Galio versus Annie matchup is not one I'm super familiar with, but should be something that should be fine for both of these players.
Viper fairly low here.
Yeah, Gumayushi actually getting so much from the Gleam
Wow.
as well. Getting all of that health back. Did drink his potion, of course, but Viper is really struggling here in this lane right now.
Nahirapan siya sa Saya.
I want to talk about it for a second because we had, remember, the consideration of Peanut playing something completely different. You know, it might not have been Hecarim, might have just been a funky hover, but playing the Nidalee top into the Cassante would have given you a lot of lane pressure, but this comp doesn't have that much damage, right? I mean, it's a Galio. If you play the Nidalee top, your team fighting gets a little bit weaker. And so now Peanut is so important in this draft on this Nidalee to be able to hit spears later on for controlling objectives. That range advantage is really only him. And if your Lucian falls super far behind in lane, things could be really disastrous. As Doran aggressive.
Yep, the hop does come on through. As Doran down below 100 health, the hyper
buti ka na siya ma-solo kill.
The transformation happens
Nako,
exactly
may
the wrong
Nidalee.
time still. Peanut is going to be here as Doran underneath the turret, not hit by the spear. And the wave crashes. They don't know where anyone is on the map, and they do not go any further.
And with the shield, I don't know if it would have been enough, but it definitely would have been extremely close. Could have been the opportunity, but as you highlight, he just transformed at just the wrong moment.
Lane swap agad.
Just one more, as we do see the call picked up for Zeus. The early lane playing out the way that it has, but that has not been a problem for Doran. I feel like
Face
the
rush
early
Annie.
laning phase
Okay.
has been Zeus favored, but then he's able to effortlessly bounce back. Part of that is also as we keep going back to Owner. This man does so much lifting for the team, both in the fights as well as in the lane setups and the dive that they continuously fight.
Yeah, great pounce there from Peanut to get himself out of the way, just harassing Carrier and Owner out of the jungle. And trying to set up something here as the 2v2 has ensued on the other side. That is going to continue here. You can see Viper still pretty far behind, as his early laning phase has been all about Gumayusi and Carrier. This is obviously one of their most successful combinations of champions. They've used this to great effect many, many times. We'll see whether it is going to continue like this. So far, so good here for the T1 bottom lane.
We do have Peanut in the area.
Nice
but
stun.
remember, he is in Italy, so with no CC, I don't think he'll be able to offer anything here in defense of this lane. Would have been nice if there was a dive coming for him to be there, but Owner does not care. He's clearing.
Well, there's the grand entrance as the door is going.
Nice stun.
Viper taking so much damage here as he's still trying to fight back. A dangerous decision, as we can see. As Delight just going to slow down Carrier, and they are just zoning them away from their turret here just in a 2v2.
It's getting straight up gapped in this 2v2, not even
Grabe.
remotely close. As
Gumakerya yan.
Viper really was trying to get the passive proc there together with Delight, but they don't get it, and then he was also hit by just a few stray feathers that I think he wasn't expecting, leading to be so low that in a single combo they would just die.
And I mean, if he gets like one more auto off, he probably just flashes for the kill there. I mean, he had such a huge health advantage that Viper just has to walk away. He was already significantly behind in CS, and now is even further so. And now they're just going to send Xayah back to the bottom lane here. And this is going to be Peanut clearing vision on this dragon, but they have no idea beyond the pit where anyone is. And so starting this is certainly not going to happen now for Hanwha.
Yep, the heroic entrance is now online as Zeka does hit that level 6, so he can augment some of these side lanes. They might need to overload if they're going to get something done. As
Kinuha pa rin
there is the
siya.
Justice Punch to come in. Faker going to get taunted
No!
up as the spear
Ow.
will connect as well. Tibbers goes down, but here the cavalry
Sayang.
has arrived. Sonic Wave goes wide. Zeka
Tumama
just
yung
a slight
kinilisin.
sidestep there. The listing lazily to the left once again, working out beautifully here on the LCK stage. But T1 still happy to play defense in
Not
this
bad.
moment.
Might be what they need though. I like this
Grabe
continued
aggression,
trade from Owner because with the burst that Annie has, it's hard to get the trade back on her even though her health is low. And this means that Faker still gets to stay in lane even though his health bar is so low, and they get prio on the dragon, whereas Delight just decides to peace out, does it to TP, but I think with the slow TP, I don't know if they can contest. Peanut's on the other end of the map, so they're clearly deciding to let this go, and that's another dragon going to T1.
See, Delight uses his TP to come down here with Viper, but they can't do anything to this dragon. And like you said, it's just insane how much control over dragon T1 has had this entire 3 sets of games. Or set of 3 games, I should say.
Nice dodge.
A nice sidestep there, as we can see, as the Mega Nod just
Grass
used the
proc.
R button because he
Nice.
may as well in this matchup. I don't think Doran's going to be dying just yet. It's a decent wall up there as Zeus is continuing to throw skills at the Cassante, but he's got the steel caps. He's looking like he's feeling okay. As Zeka moving down towards the bottom side, and Viper will be parked in mid.
Grabe, tambak yung CS yung bot lane nila.
Is the lead here for Gumayusi. So much of this
81-51. Yung top, I expected yung top eh, pero yung bot,
No jungle intervention. There were no ganks, there were no
di sila yung nalagaan ng ano,
It was
Italy.
just straight up 2v2 domination, and feels like even with the increase in form that we saw of Guma in particular, but even Carrier to a certain extent, I think he was a lot more inconsistent during the regular season, even though he's still at the highs. But them just gapping like this, I think, is unexpected.
That's the worst.
That is not what they were looking for here, as HLE still with an opportunity to fight for this one.
Flash out ba siya? Hindi ko napansin. May nurse sa likod, may nurse sa likod.
In position on these grubs as Carrier able to grand exit from this one. Zay's moving back towards his teammates, but he's going to have to crash his way out of this. And it looks like that is
Nice,
what's
wala
going
na
to
siyang
happen.
E. Okay,
And there
grab
is the
secured.
objective, just
Nice.
going over to T1 for free, yet another one, tick it off.
the timing on this, where they are able to get the second grub without using Smite, and then just be able to secure the third one for free. Faker on that flank angle, they knew he was in the brush. They just could not collapse because he's got flash timbers.
Oh, it's so... Yeah, and Ona now going to move over, deny any sort of Raptor steal. T1
Gamit niya yung T1 skin niya.
in this early game.
And it's not even like Hanwha Life already getting anything on the rest of the map, because we saw in that whole sequence, Zeka like was on bot, then roamed mid because he wanted to be ready for a possible fight, and the call was to not make the fight because they didn't have Meganar. Then he walked into the jungle to try and maybe contest, and ends up not really getting... If you get like a plate or two,
sayang.
I think you're going to be feeling a lot better, but the cross map just isn't there.
Yeah, look at this defensive play here from HLE. They know
aggressive nung Saya, no? Wala pang item.
In his inventory, you can see there's one small hammer and a dagger.
Lamang na lamang ng CS, 96.
Just now ticked over, but he's
30
basically
CS din yan.
Same for Viper.
Carrier about to hit that quickness.
Naku, may ward. Kita sila.
I mean, they're just going to zone him off another wave. Like, otherwise, I mean, good luck defending this dive.
Well, there is that quickness that goes in, gets the charm onto Delight, who's kicked away, but here's the heroic entrance.
Nice stun.
And he holds Zeka in place. The Winds of War comes
sayang, Sonic Wave.
is going to miss.
May nidali sa likod, may nidali sa likod. Isa pa. Nice! Uy, Faker! Sabog. Let's go, boys!
T1 in this early game, and Zeus is also taking damage from Doran.
That's got to be a backbreaker. Like, there is just no way.
There's no way. Because right before this, I was going to say, I mean, at least you got a gold lead for the counter matchup. You gave Zeus. At least you got the Snar. And if Peanut can stabilize in this game, you can have some poke. You can play around objectives. But I mean, this is just a bottom 2v2 setup where
Meganar na yan, pare.
And they have so much agency. Zeus looking for something back here on the bottom lane.
He has to.
Yeah, let's see whether he can find it.
DP though.
Teleport is going to come in. Doran goes all out and doesn't get CC'd from the Gnar. Zeus looking to try and get himself out of here. As there is the wallop. It's Carrier that comes in. And there's the Q charged up. Doran
sayang.
the flash does come through.
One more E.
Gets the transformation. The turret's getting aggressive. Zeus still
nice.
But it does not work. And Doran picks up the kill. Once again, T1 are schooling.
Lucian, wrapping up.
All over the map.
And it feels like at this point the sweep is imminent. We were hopeful that maybe something could happen, as we're going to see a replay of that topside play. It's just a disaster across the board. It looks like initially
tipid na tipid yung flash.
With Zeka, with Zeka coming in.
Ganda rin stun cleanse.
Viper's ult goes into Narnia.
Kung tumama yung Lee Sin Q, patay na agad. Nag-juggle pa sila dito eh. May feather sakto, tatlo. Bang. Ganda.
The two-man stun. That spear from Peter, even if it hits Faker, it doesn't matter, but it just adds insult to injury.
Nice.
It's the pressure, you know, that's there in the top side that allows all of this to happen, because if you know, the Galio doesn't come up, they lose that, right? But when the Galio comes up, it means
parang nag-iba yung confidence si Doran. Grabe siya nung regular games. Ibang-iba yung gameplay niya ngayon. Parang binigyan siya ng confidence ng T1 dito ah.
As Doran is making this road to MSI all about him.
Well, T1 are going to continue making it about them as they look for this engage onto Peanut. He tries to get himself out of there, but Delight is in such an awkward position. Zeus is coming on over. The door has been set up as Viper.
Nice! Ganda na Sonic Wave. Pasok.
He's going to actually hit some T1 players, but the block from Faker.
Ganda! Ganda! Grabe si Carrier dun.
Oh man, is this T1? Is this the Harlem Globetrotters? They are just dominating.
Puta, ginagil yung auto-attack, pare. Grabe yun. Nasa gitna siya.
Is something else entirely. Doran gets the whole turret, the first turret, and feeds the string. I don't know if this could be any more one-sided. And I want to see the Hanwha fans. How are they feeling right now?
I don't want to. Let's not do that.
I'd rather not know. I think it's okay. It's a 6K gold deficit, and again here, it's T1, the power of friendship. Someone goes in, we all commit, and obviously, so far behind is Hanwha already in items, but I thought
ganda na Sonic Wave kay kay Nidali, pumasok.
Maybe they can follow up, but they just don't
have
the stats. Ona gets Peanut in,
ganda.
which means that Peanut just goes down after that kill.
Juggle. Galing.
Look at his weaving. The shield keeps life owner obviously
Ina,
doesn't
grabe.
care about the turret. And that's the only appropriate response.
Yeah, Carrier
Expected-
just having
expected
a little bit of
yung
a giggle
reaction.
at this one. I think he kind of knows that that ticket is already theirs. Looking for another bit of an engagement here, as soon as we're out of replays, we seem to be into another thing.
T1's success is also Hanwha's tragedy. Again, so close, but coming into today, massive favorites. Massive, massive favorites. I mean, there were so many 3-0s on our side. Very few T1 believers, and they were 3-2 believers at that, hoping that it's going to go to the 5th and final game. And it must be insane whiplash to come into today feeling like, well, it was tough against Genji, but surely today we'll get it done. And
Galio.
T1 are just a different beast than they were in regular season, a different beast than they were
Ibang-iba
even
sila nung
yesterday.
regular season.
And this is the kind of goal you want to see from a team that's going to represent
Although
the
top
LCK
3 sila.
MSI.
It's just hard to imagine a way back
Grabe yung
from
domination
like
ng
this game,
Genji.
right?
Wala
Like,
silang
not even
talo
talking
regular
about the mental,
season.
not talking about the fact that they
HLE
are on
din,
the
di rin
verge
sila
of
nanalo
losing
sa
their
HLE.
6th game in a
Kaya sila
row,
naging top 3.
basically getting just fully
Sakit!
swept.
Oh dear, that door went the wrong direction.
Essence River.
It does absorb a few of these auto attacks. Stand beside is
Essence
going to get
River,
Delight out of
tapos
there, but
paano
still.
na?
You're
Nabori
short range
ba?
comp? Like, how are you ever going to retake
Pwedeng
any control where
nabori.
you need to get down and dirty to get anything done, and the items just aren't there?
And who sets
Sakit.
up the Galio ult? You know, how do you find your way in? It's
Like that?
Yeah, here's the flash forward. That's what Delight is looking for as they do get the
Nice
feather
dodge.
storm out from
Di na.
Gumayushi. That's
Out,
exactly
out.
what HLE want. Now there's a
Naku,
clock.
wala ka na.
Now they need
Yes.
to figure out how to get on top of Guma and make something happen. But I mean, I feel like they are so far behind, and yeah, there's Cleanse, there's Flash. Thanks for showing me there, Chronicler. There is still answers here, and he's
May
got
Cleanse
a
pa si
2,000
Viper.
gold lead. The wallet advantage also going to be helpful.
All you got to do is just ult that there, and you're fine. As even this is desperation.
Yeah, I mean, this is Zeka being able to push Faker away. He's, of course, got the molten
Inultihan
shield.
eh.
Now has the bear. Gonna make this one a little bit unfair towards
Inultihan
one
eh,
side
oh.
as the Winds of War come down.
Oh, gag ka bro ah. Oh.
I don't know whether
Wala
Zeka
flash out
even
siya eh.
Oh my god.
discovers that as easy.
Masyado na siyang desperado.
Too much!
Where's the mercy rule?
Yeah, oh god.
And you know, I wanted a good series today. And for me, that meant T1 showing up. I didn't quite mean it like this. I didn't expect to get the bad series because T1 showed up a little too much.
I feel like you opened the door for T1 to show up and Homolife Esports just left.
We may have monkey pawed this one a little bit.
I think that is the important thing to note. Hanwha were the favorites today, but if you had come in and you told us, guys, T1 clutched it, it was a 3-2, Hanwha got close, but it wasn't enough, it was the T1 magic. I don't think that would have really surprised any of us.
That's why that's why Digon predicted that.
Yeah,
you know?
and I
yeah.
think it was Coco as well, right? That
Okay,
makes sense.
carry ya.
T1 just out of nowhere, and it is out of nowhere, let's be very real, they lost 2-0 to this team. Not, what, was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago.
It is just insane, and it needs to be the credit, because
Yes, di sila nanalo sa Hanwha nung regular season. Di sila napagbigyan. Kaya sila naging number 3.
There's also the reigning LCK champion, Kruglord Doran, which I feel like we need to give him the credit. He is the defending champion, and it was on this team that he's facing right now.
Yep. And the
Defending
defending world
champ,
champion that's on the
Hanwha
other side isn't quite getting it done as Carrier goes in. Owner there is
Ganda!
all
Collateral
kicking
sila.
it knock up as they're now just looking to take
Grabe yung aggression nila ngayon.
very comfortably. Delight.
Wala silang magawa, pare.
Here's the knockup comes through. My god, the damage.
Grabe.
Zeka will be eviscerated. And Viper standing alongside Zeus underneath this turret.
Hmm,
And Doran says,
inultihan.
"You're coming with me." The Kruglord sends his regards as Viper will look for a mega cone for a different
Matic,
stage.
bounce na yun. Malakas yung mega. Yung cone na yun eh.
Oh god, you are right.
They could perfect game Hanwha to knock them
Wala
out.
Zeus.
Oh,
Wala
that's absurd.
Zeus.
Okay, Zeus
Wala
is just gonna
Zeus.
kick it
Nice
out
one.
unceremoniously. And like you were talking about,
Grabe,
the
grabe.
game's still on the line. 12-0 is the kill score. They're gonna take
Napanood
it
ko
in
lahat
a
ng
hurry
laban
here
ng T1,
at
di sila
18
ganito.
minutes.
Para silang
Oh, man, now we just
beast
talked
mode.
about HLE. Can they get a kill ever in this game? That's going to be the question.
I think
as
that's a
maybe
kill.
off the back
Uy,
of this,
nice!
Never mind. Oh, no. He's got the smooth moves to taxi alongside the Gromp. The blade there
Ah,
as well to
ganda
hold
ng
him
dodge.
in place.
So they gotta defend this dragon and
Flash
they
Q.
wanna keep that alive as well.
Oh,
Guma.
yeah. Zeka going in.
Grabe,
Guma
oh.
is going forward into 3 people.
Grabe.
The feathers are just doing
Damaging
so much
while
damage.
dodging.
As all right.
Nice.
They're going to join him. There
Grabe
is the
yung
knockup.
spacing
Heads
niya.
onto Zeka, who doesn't get the taunt. Onto Gumi.
Sayang di niya
He's got
na-stun.
the shield to
Nice.
fight with the feather storm. Is there an answer? And Zeus
Wala
can't do
Zeus.
anything
Huwag na
as he gets
pilitin,
that back.
pare.
It's the Pyro Blast
Sayang,
that
di na-stun yung Lucian.
knocks him down. And
Ay, nakakill sila. Grabe, 14-1. Kinulata, par.
Speechless is how I'm feeling right now. T1, a Super Saiyan performance, completely unlocked.
And I have been the unfortunate recipient of many a DK
Ganda no Saya skin. Bibili din ako niyan. Nagiging ano, violet kapag nagda-W.
Of course they just turn it on when it matters most. They were just sandbagging. We thought it was Hanwha.
Yeah, this was apparently what Hanwha were doing. They've admitted this. They've said they
Grabe si Gumo. Playing with fire. Oh?
Well, it's a bit awkward when you don't even get to go there. As this was just Gumayushi playing with his
Grabe,
food.
outplayed.
As Zeus went in
Although
to try and
may
take
help
it down, he just said
still,
no.
di ba?
And Carrier does go down, but he's Rakan. He set up the play for the rest of his teammates. Oh, goodness me. T1 just have every answer today.
I mean, there's just, they could do no wrong here.
Sayang din natin napanood yung 1 and 2, pero okay lang.
One-sided games I've ever seen in the best of 5 in professional play here in Korea. It's just nearly a perfect game, as mentioned. Just that one kill stops the perfect here for T1, but
Atakan?
how can he even say composed on the stage here as Hanwha?
Grabe oh, lahat ng players lamang. Sabog ang Nidalee.
Bye-bye. Is just gonna run towards
Uy, inultihan.
Doran just says nope, no mega cone for you, sir.
Nice, pati Lucian.
Carrier finds them all in that back line as the Galio
Ang
comes
sabog.
down, but he just
Grabe.
gets booted out of the rift entirely.
Takbo mo
Zeus
na yan,
is trying his very
Zeus.
best to hop his way out. Don't mind
Woo.
me, everyone.
The minion
As
died.
the Sonic Wave goes wide. But I still think he's just being escorted to the death chamber, ladies and gentlemen. Doran tanking up this tower momentarily. The grand entrance.
Damn.
And now the base is going to get broken.
Ganda ng Saya skin talaga.
Against the
1v1 sa Atakan, okay?
And yeah, T1 are able to do whatever they
Sakit
want,
yan.
whenever they want, until they decide that it's time to pick up that ticket.
Sakit yan pare.
He doesn't win this.
I don't think he does.
I mean, pretty
Ang
impressive
sakit
in
yan
this
pare.
one now, as, he might be out, I don't know what he can
Sidestep?
cleanse. Yeah, he's look at the plays, look at the moves, Gumayushi.
Grabe.
Oh!
Uy, nan-v1 yung Atakan.
That was soloing an Otacon, everyone. That's what that was. It was he did
IE?
manage to get that one done. Didn't necessarily need to,
IE, I
but he did.
guess.
Everyone's had a role to play in this series, and I think Faker, who was the most quiet of the 5, has 0 deaths in this game and has been such a strong facilitator.
Bang, ultihan eh. Tulog eh.
Before, but I feel like this is a new level. Okay, this is too much.
Oh my goodness.
I wasn't sure he was going to get it. I was on the side.
Oh no, I was worried.
I mean, that was the only we're not really sure
Grabe,
whether
burado
they'll get
yung
a moment
Lucian.
that we've had so far in this
Parang
game.
kahapon pa
Also,
underperforming
first
si
of all,
Viper.
uncertainty.
Yeah, as we get the replay, of course. We need some preview here. As yeah, you saw that Ona was coming on over, trying to grab it. And he
Winang
said,
biwang eh.
And he did.
And if he didn't, would it really matter?
No, not really. But it's getting some revenge for his teammates. As Doran, remember, he lost that same battle on the bottom side of the map against a different camp, but still.
A clearly stronger one.
It's some revenge. It's Delight. Oh god, the Braum just getting
Grabe yung pressure
so
nila.
much damage here as Doran throws Zeka into the wall.
Ang
He's
kapal
not
ng face
quite
ng
as safe as he
Kisante.
really wants to be right now. Still
Ang
cannot
kunat ng
four
likod.
members of HLE that it does not matter. He's just zoning.
We
As
thought
Minotaur goes down.
We thought the era of Genji T1 might have been over. We finally had a new champion, we finally had a new challenger in summer, but T1 still won the world championship and weren't able to make it to first stand. But they're putting their stamp on the MSI ticket, saying we are still able to hang with the best. We are still up there with Genji.
Sayang.
We are a top 2 team in the LCK.
Grabe, wala siyang
Ona
damage.
here.
Yeah, that was actually very cute by Ona. Peanut wanted to hop over there and he was like, let me help you, as he kicks him back towards his base. And alright, HLE are at least on the map for the moment.
Are they?
are absolutely
Tangina, grabe.
In goes Zeka looking to try and get
Ang ganda ng ano, T-verse.
Faker here is Carrier says absolutely not. He finds a whole lot of charms here in this mid lane.
Grabe, ang sakit ng Saya.
Entrance gonna get a knock up onto the Rakan. Yeah, they'll be able to kill him again, but do they have any
Ang sakit ng
chance?
Saya.
The rest of
Putang
this fight?
ina,
And the answer is
tumutunaw.
maybe they can get Faker, but otherwise
Nice
it
cleanse.
is all T1 as Gumayushi will be able to take down
Sakti
his
Guma.
former teammate. Peanut trying to get himself out of here as Ona
Nice.
gonna join him as they blast cone their way out. Another Sonic Wave is gonna go wide as the Blade Caller coming on through. Peanut trying to do what he can, but Ona just needs one more auto. one more
Di
something.
umabot.
Okay,
NT.
the cat will survive.
He gets out, but I don't know if he feels happy right now about it, Atlas. And
Yeah, we can cue the yakety sax.
Di nila yung minion. Ayan, ayan.
I'm willing to take that bat.
Hindi nila yung mega.
Like they probably knew
Too
after the
early.
topside play, the emotes are
Para
fine,
di
but
makabawi.
Humble Life,
Yeah, that's sad
oh
B.
no, not the sad B.
As the teleport is going to look to put the end to this funny business. As Delight came in, so that's going to try.
Oh, bilis ng ani.
He does have a taunt.
Tangina, face rush.
The Justice Punch quite nicely here, but he's still on a sliver of health. As Zeus decent knob up.
Tulog sa lisin. Grabe, para na lang sila naglalaro ngayon. I mean, technically naglalaro sila, pero para na lang parang di sineseryoso. Sa pool, tulog. Grabe, bastusan. Grabe, stomp tong laro na to. 26-3 pare. Ang sakit ng saya. Damn. Ang sakit to. Oh my god. Burado illusion.
Esports turned up. They'll take down the Nexus and T1 will stamp a deserved spot at
Whoa.
MSI.
Good job, boys.
on one side of the arena, elation for T1 returning to form. A T1
So, championship with Gen G baka next week? Or
in our playoffs, a team that had swapping bottom laners and underperforming top laner, but they
imimit nila si Zeus. Let's go. Trash talkin nyo si Zeus. Iniwan kayo sa ere. Libreng safeguard. Putang ina. May isang box ng safeguard na panalunan eh.
And once again, it is Gen G and T1 heading to MSI. We might be able to get that rematch once more. It's the only one that we were denied here in Busan.
Oh.
We might have been saving that for Canada.
And for Humble Life, it is a harrowing
Anti-Zeus.
what still was, I think, a great season. Clear second in their region for most of this year. Looked like they were
Walang kamayan? The fuck?
together with Gen G that were going to be the clear favorites. Obviously, one LCK Cup, one first stand rather effortlessly, but here today, it was a collapse. And it feels like ever since Gen G got that reverse sweep, Humble Life just wasn't able to come back. And what is most poignant to me is Owner having a stellar performance. That isn't a surprise. Keria and Guma gapping, the way they did was insane, but you can see that if you're told in advance. But
wala eh. Gumayushi ka ay.
This is not a surprise.
But it's been a year.
This is domestic roadshow Doran. I mean,
Ganda ng keyboard.
the worst enemy of Zeus and always has
And of himself. Please don't just keep this level up.
We literally mentioned this during the top lane walkouts that sometimes Doran gets the better of him, but I still didn't think it was going to happen today. I thought it was
Damn.
maybe we were going to see
Kinulata nila yung ano, HLE. Sana maging okay yung versus Gen G.
You never know what he's going to do, and right now he is going up and up and up, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he's got for us at MSI.
Yep, and I'm not necessarily looking forward to these highlights because honestly, T1 just made HLE look silly in this series, but especially here in this game.
Was just an everything gap.
It
right?
was.
Like I don't feel like any matchup was particularly close. There was a little bit of action in the mid lane, but that matchup was mostly just neutralizing. But the way that Viper and Delight got absolutely demolished by Guma and Carry on the Zaya Rakan. Just a sight to behold here today.
And
Grabe,
some of the
ganda ng
issues
collateral.
we always talked about with Hanwha where they played to the strength of their opponents and sometimes fooled around. This wasn't that kind of series where it felt like those issues got exposed. They were just the weaker team today. They were not playing at their best. And it wasn't because Zeus was overstaying in side lanes. They weren't messing around in team fights. Zeus never had any control, really, outside of game 1. On
Grabe
some
1v1
objective
sa
fights.
Lucian sa
They just
Tor,
got
ano,
completely demolished.
sa Well.
It's delight missing
Ang
skill
ina,
shots.
binura yung
It's
Lucian
Pete
eh.
not having an early impact. This is very clearly just a Humble Life that was rattled, and my god, the T1 made good use of it. It
Oh, they
is-
really did.
This third game was that one is going to be very fun for any T1 fan. Any
Wala
other
na
fan,
yung Lucian.
gotta go outside. We're gonna take a
Nalikuran.
break. Try and forget this one as soon as possible.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things for Humble Life Esports as well is the fact that they're known as the team that can clutch it out. That's why I think so many of us had so much confidence in this squad, is because none of those, oh, but they have the momentum now, oh, they have this, they have that. They're a known
Parang
quantity.
mas nag-enjoy sila ngayon
Get it
kaysa
done.
mga
We
regular
know that
games
when
nila.
they're asked that they have to win, they can.
And just,
They just couldn't today.
it just got to be so shocking.
Hindi
for
sila
Aqua
ganito
fans,
maglaro
you know?
na.
That's why I was asking earlier for a crowd shot, because I felt like this was not an outcome that was possible today.
So it's
all
gonna
they
be,
could
you
ever
know,
even worry about is
It's
getting
gonna be
through
Gen
those
G
crowd
versus
fights
T1 sa
I'm
finals.
sure Carrier's
Alam
giggles
ko may
will
finals
keep
pa to.
resonating in the
Ayun, oh.
nightmares of Humble fans, 'cause if that man is
3,
giggling,
tatlong
life
hits
is not
tapos
good.
feather balik.
As there it is, some relief, I guess, on T1, but mainly just happy to be going to MSI.
Game
after that one.
over. 35k
Gumayushi
damage.
doing massive amounts of damage, and these damage graphs really are looking like the shadows of the former HLE just kind of crumbled down